theme from Black Sunday from 1977, one of the film credits of a man who was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Coming Home in 1978, and then for Nebraska a couple of years ago. He is in The Hateful Eight, the new Quentin Tarantino film that will be released in 70mm format on Christmas Day and then widely on January 8th. A pleasure to have on the Rich Eisen Show, Bruce Dern. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So what is on your mind sports-wise? What is on the Bruce Dern mind right now sports-wise? What leaps to mind for you, sir?
One word, Granky.
Granky? You upset or what? What do you think?
Of course I'm upset.
So you're a Dodger fan going back to when?
I grew up north of Chicago, about 20 miles in two towns, Glencoe and Winnetka.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always a Dodger fan. The first time I ever went to a game, my grandfather was good friends with Colonel McCormick, who invented Reaper and all the International Harvester, you know, the farm machinery.
Sure. Okay.
And he took me as his guest because he was a personal friend of Connie Mack's. So
wow,
I
personal friend of Connie Mack.
I went to the 5th game of the Detroit Cub World Series in 1945.
At Wrigley Field, or?
Yeah,
okay.
Wrigley Field. And then they went to Detroit for the last two. And the Cubs were good, not great, but they had a wonderful pitcher named Johnny Schmitz, who later went to the Dodgers, like all the Cubs used to do. Like the Yankees would go to Kansas City in September, the Dodgers would go to the Cubs. And it was great. The Cubs eventually lost the series, but...
Then that's how you became a Dodger fan? Is that through that player? In a way,
only because the Dodgers could play, the Cubs couldn't. And,
sure.
You know, I'm not a Bear fan. I mean, I was a Ram fan when they were in Cleveland before they ever came to Los Angeles.
Sure.
Because 8 miles from my house was Great Lakes Naval Training Center. And from 1942 to 1945, they had a football team there that never lost a game, and their coach was Paul Brown.
Paul Brown.
And he had as his quarterback Otto Graham, Max Speedy, Donnie Lavelli, the big fullback, Lou Groza, and then they all just went in the pros.
Yeah.
At the Army.
Right. So, Greinke, were you surprised that the Diamondbacks suddenly, because they weren't supposed to be in the mix, it was just supposed to be Dodgers versus Giants for Zach Greinke?
Well, who just went to the Diamondbacks 2 years ago? La Russa.
That's true.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
It's math. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He knows talent. And he knows he's never had a guy since Shilly and Johnson left that can do it like Greinke could. So he needs a rock in his staff. So, and two things, I understand why Greinke did it. First of all, he's will be the #1 starter.
Yeah.
And second of all, he'll be the #3 paid player probably of all time, whatever. What did he get, $260 million?
Yeah, I mean, Kershaw, I guess, makes a little bit more than that, but in terms of annual pay.
But why would you lose 2 of the best 3 or 4 in the game when you have them there, where you know you go into any city and you can win 2 out of 3?
I guess because it wasn't working, or they just decided. It's odd. I'm here with Bruce Dern, because it's odd. It seems like they have a bottomless pit of money, right? The Dodgers. But now they have a new front office guy who's applying the type of mindset that you don't just throw money at everything, that you sit here and say...
He's got a 2-syllable name that says freed man. So he wants to free people.
Yeah, I guess so. There's that too. But I mean, he is in a way, you know, saying I'm not going to give a 6th year to a pitcher who's going to be 38. You know, that's the tour. But it might be the price of doing business to get him when he's 32 through 35, 36. Yeah. You know,
One of the neat things I thought in all the sports that I've seen is the night that they put Crucky up in the All-Star game to face the big unit.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you, Kruk, that he never saw the first pitch. The second pitch he felt was going to hit him in the head. It broke right over the plate.
Right.
And the third one he never saw. And he, if you remember, he laid his bat down, took his batting gloves off, put his hat, his helmet on the thing, and he turned around. And I forget I think it was the catcher from Toronto then, not the guy with the Spanish name, the other guy. And he turned around. And the guy says, Crucky, what are you doing? I've seen the elephant. He never played again.
That's it.
And then when Jim Gray came, I'm not a Jim Gray fan, but he does his job. Well, I just think Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
and he obviously didn't by his nasty little question. So he He said, "So, John, what's that all about?" It's not fair.
That's right. Well, it wasn't. It didn't look fair. I'm here with Bruce Dern here on the Rich Eisen Show. Who's the best team in the NFL right now? Who do you think? If you had to say right now, going to win the Super Bowl, would you go it's Carolina at 12-0? You think it's maybe Cincinnati, Denver?
No, I
New
don't
England?
think. I don't think. I don't think the Carolina quarterback wants to play 4 quarters in a pressure game against Belichick, because Belichick will design a way for one game if they're the two teams where he'll stop him. And when people want to say, well, has Brady lost this or that, maybe he doesn't throw quite as deep as he used to throw, but it's only a difference of inches, not yards. And I think that what he did the other night, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something, they've just lost the game. He's got 31 seconds. He tied it.
Yeah.
He's on place.
I'm with you. And he almost down 3 scores almost if a couple of his guys who are, his first and second options who ordinarily with a healthy roster would be options
now,
4 and 5.
What I love about the
he
guy
almost tied
is,
it.
first of all, he's a stoic. And a lot of them were stoics. But being a Ram fan, 1951, they had the best football team I've ever seen offensively. They averaged 49 points a game for a season. 2 quarterbacks. One played the first and third, one played the second and fourth. Bob Waterfield and Norman Van Brocklin. Then they had the bull elephant backfield with 2 fullbacks, each of whom could run in the 100 yards then. Each could run under 10 seconds in 100, and they weighed 240 apiece. So that was good. And they won the championship. And
So you think Brady has got that sort of Van Brocklin type stature?
Unfortunately, he doesn't have the receivers this year that he's
Well,
had.
we'll see if he can get back healthy. I mean, Edelman and Gronk's a different
He's not
story.
healthy.
I know, but we'll see. Well,
But none of them are.
Not yet. We said there's still enough time. I've got Bruce Dern right here on the Rich Eisen Show, The Hateful Eight. We're going to be back in 66 the clock. I'll talk to you about the Tarantino movie, and I want to ask you a couple questions from your film
Oh,
career.
please, God, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's all good. I got Bruce Dern right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Back in a minute. He is an Academy Award nominee for Coming Home in '78 and for Nebraska for Best Actor a couple of years ago. One of our popular guests in the history of our podcast that we're thrilled that this show has been born out of. Bruce Dern right here on the Rich Eisen Show, the new Quentin Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. What was it like being directed by Quentin Tarantino, Bruce Dern? What was that like for you?
Well, in my mind, he made an opera. This movie is like almost an opera. He also managed to do 2 things. He managed to make a movie and a film.
What do you mean by that?
It's in CinemaScope, which hasn't been shot since 1963. The last CinemaScope movie was It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World.
Huh.
The first was Lawrence of Arabia. They only made 7. And I think the best thing, a lot of people see it, he sees it all. His attention to detail is better than ever. I think anybody that's been in the business, except maybe Visconti, an Italian director, but it's that you want a partner who can be a coach, and he wrote the stuff. So he's right there with you. And his embracing of actors and the process and everything. He was an actor once. His first acting job, he played an Elvis impersonator on The Golden Girls.
That I did not know.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know.
That
But
was
you've
his-
worked with Hitchcock before, have you not? I mean,
Yeah,
you've been...
I've always said that I feel I've worked for 6 geniuses. I started out with Mr. Kazan, who I was under contract to 5 years. He had 5 of us. He had Rip Torn, Pat Hingle, Geraldine Page, myself, and Lee Remick. And I was kind of the baby of the group. And then I was lucky enough to go a couple times for Mr. Hitchcock, then a kid named Douglas Trumbull, who did this movie Silent Running. I did, but as a junior in Huntington Beach High School, he won the Academy Award for special effects because at 17 years old he did 2001.
The Kubrick movie, Space Odyssey. So who are the other geniuses?
Then Coppola, Alexander Payne, and Tarantino, and they all have one ability that I've never seen before, and that is any member of the crew, any one of these guys, the guys up in the lights, an actor, makeup, the guy that cleans the toilets, anything, can come to him or them at any time in the day and say just exactly what is my importance to this take, and they'll tell you. And after the first day of Family Plot with Mr. Hitchcock, he asked the first if he could have a word with the crew. They said yes. He was huge in the girth. So he sat in the little director's chair, and I was sitting right here. And when he got up, the chair went with him because his butt and side stuck out.
Yeah.
And he never looked at me. He just said, "A hand, please, Bruce." So I grabbed the legs of the chair, and he walked out of it. Walked on and said to the crew, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for quite a wonderful first day." And they kind of applauded and wanted to get the Laker game, you know, whatever it is. And as he paused for a second, and he said, "Personally," he walked around a set of 78 people and thanked every single person personally by their first name.
No kidding.
How about
Alfred
that?
Hitchcock.
Yeah.
I'm here with Bruce Dern here on the Rich Eisen Show. You've got a favorite Nicholson story? You remember from the set, or?
Yeah, it's in my book too.
Oh, sure.
We were at Mac Court in Eugene in 1971 shooting a movie called Drive, he said. And it's kind of a campus revolution movie. I don't know if you remember them, but it was kind of like that. And Oregon, just 2 days before, had upset UCLA and broken their streak. That was the team with Stan Love and Drozdiak and the guys that eventually went to Portland. And we have 10,000 extras for a day. They packed Mac Court because I was a basketball coach of a school that was going to the Final Four. We played Ohio because the O was on the shirt and we couldn't say Oregon. And so we had to stage 20 basketball games in that day with 10,000 people. So Jack is out on the court, and his partner was Mike Warren, who was in the movie. And
from UCLA.
Just 3 years earlier had captained UCLA. And he was the captain of the varsity team when Kareem was a freshman, and they beat the varsity by 32 points in the freshman game. And so, but then he was in Hill Street Blues, which was a series for a long time. He's a good player. And he came from South Bend, but he went to UCLA. So he's out there with Jack playing 2 against 2. And he's playing against Stan Love and a one-armed equipment manager in front of 10,000 people. We hadn't shot a shot. And he walks over to me and he says, "Come on, Dern." He said, "Why are you so long?" I said, "Jack, we got 10,000 people till 7 o'clock tonight. You got to shoot baskets." He says, "I'm playing baskets here and admit that I can play." I said, "No, I'll admit you can't play, and you're making a fool of yourself, and you're costing us time." So they were down 19-1 in their little, so it was over 2 more points they were down. He comes over, he sits down next to me. Karen Black is sitting here. And she hands him on a little clip or whatever it is, you know, a little roach thing, you know, a tip of a roach. And he says, "Come on, Derns, get with it. You know, why don't have a nice time? Here, have a nice time." And I says, "Come on, Jack." He says, "We'll take a buff. Have a nicer time."
And that's your favorite Jack Nicholson story?
Well, that's pretty cool.
It is fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm here with Bruce Dern here on the Rich Eisen Show. So you think Patriots beat the Panthers if they face each other, right?
I think if those two teams play,
What do you think about football back in Los Angeles? What do you think about that?
I don't think it's coming.
You don't?
No, sir.
Oh, what makes you think that?
32 guys, 31 guys, you know. I mean, first of all, to get a decision out of the Davis kid will be like, you know, waiting for it to snow here in L.A. And secondly, they're all having terrible years. Well, the Raiders are struggling, but I had a great first 5 games as a Ram fan, but then we finally suddenly realized that Nick Foles was Nick Foles, just like Bradford was Bradford. So it was kind of an equal swap. But I don't think that, I think eventually it's going to come down to Mr. Garcetti and other folks to say, "Hey, people, come on down just a little bit." And they'll never get it.
Yeah.
They'll never get public money to help them
Well,
out.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
But
I don't understand why SC doesn't step up and say, now that they own the gym, that they don't say, we'll make the gym okay, come here and play again. And that won't
That's
happen.
why you don't think it'll happen?
I think the new venue that Kroenke wants is a good idea. It's a good venue, but it's a mall. He wants to put a mall in there with football. You know what I mean?
I guess that's the way it's going to be any spot with any new
Let
facility.
me ask you a question.
Sure, Bruce.
To me,
Yes.
the greatest feat in sports is the following, and this is your trivia.
Oh, this is the Bruce Dern trivia question to wrap up our conversation. This is the way we wrapped up the podcast. I like it. So this is the Bruce Dern trivia question.
In 1986, playing third base for the Boston Red Sox.
Yes.
Wade Boggs made 704 plate appearances.
Yes.
He was thrown just under 5,000 pitches. He swung and missed making contact with the baseball 27 times. You wonder why he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Sure.
That means, he whiffed 27
That's
times.
it. Sure. Right.
And
So
the man can hit.
so that's the trivia question?
And the trivia question is, what is, if you figure hitting a major league pitch is the hardest thing to do in sports?
That's what Pete Rose said. Pete Rose said it's tougher than golf because the ball doesn't move in golf. You just tee it up. That's what Pete Rose said.
But if I have a last-minute trivia for you, I would say, you saw Hoosiers?
Of course.
Who was the guy that hit the shot in real life when Milan won the state championship?
The real-life Jimmy Chitwood?
Against Oscar Robertson and Crispus Attucks. That's the team they beat.
Wow.
His name was Bobby Milan.
Oh, Bobby Milan.
No, Bobby Leonard.
Bobby
from
Leonard
Milan
from
High
Milan
School.
High School.
Yeah.
There you go. There's Bruce Dern. He's on fire. And go see The Hateful Eight in
Why
a
don't you
theater.
tell the people your first job in sports on the air, where was it?
But first job in sports on the air was in KRCR Television in Redding, California, where this show has an affiliate. I did the late night sports. I did the 5 o'clock sports and the 11 o'clock sports. Ran around the North State with my 3/4-inch camera and my big, huge deck to my left, my tape deck to my left. Covered all manners of basketball and wrestling and.
I did all that. You got a big break there.
Oh, I
You
did?
had to cover Stanislaus State, and they can wrestle.
Well, you know what? That's true, I did. But I also covered Butte College, the future home to Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So I was there, and I actually covered football in Aaron Rodgers High School and college before he went to Cal.
And that's the answer
before
to
he
the
was even
trivia
there.
question.
There you go.
What college has supplied the most starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl?
And that is
Cal.
Cal.
And the quarterbacks are Joe Kapp, Craig Morton, who started for 2 different teams, Dallas and Denver, Vince Ferragamo, who had to leave Cal because he was behind Bartkowski and never could play. So he went to Nebraska, won a national championship, and Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Bruce Dern, go see the
And the kid
Hateful Eight.
there ain't bad now, the golf kid.
Oh yeah, I know. He might be the answer to the trivia question.
He should be the first quarterback drafted.
You think so?
Well, unless the Stanford kids, he could play too.
I've got Bruce Dern right here on the Rich Eisen Show. December 25th is the day. Christmas Day is where you could see the Hateful Eight in 70mm in CinemaScope. January 8th release for the wide release, the Hateful Eight. Bruce Dern, you are the man. Please come back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. That's Bruce Dern, Hollywood legend.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.